Tommaso di Folco Portinari was a successful banker who worked for the powerful Medici family in Bruges, a city of commerce and culture in the Low Countries. He had everything he could wish for: wealth, prestige, and influence. But he lacked one thing: love. He had been married once before, to a woman named Margherita, who died young and left him with 2 daughters. He felt lonely and empty, and longed for a companion who could share his life and his faith. One day, he received a letter from his cousin in Florence, who told him about a beautiful and virtuous girl named Maria Baroncelli, the daughter of a noble and wealthy family. He said that she was of marriageable age, and that he could arrange a match between them if Tommaso was interested. Tommaso was intrigued by the letter, and asked his cousin to send him a portrait of the girl. He also decided to commission a portrait of himself from a renowned painter in Bruges, Memling, who was famous for his realistic and expressive style. When Tommaso saw the portrait of Maria, he was instantly smitten. She had a delicate and graceful face, with fair skin, rosy cheeks, and dark eyes. She wore a rich and elegant dress of blue and gold, adorned with pearls and jewels. She held a sprig of jasmine in her hand, a symbol of purity and love. He wrote back to his cousin, and agreed to the marriage proposal. He also sent his own portrait to Maria, hoping that she would like him as well. He portrayed himself as a dignified and devout man, wearing a black coat and a red hat, with a medal of St. Cosmas and Damian around his neck, the patron saints of the Medici. He held a prayer book in his hand, and looked at the viewer with a calm and confident gaze. He also added a special detail to his portrait: he placed himself before an illusionistic frame, as if he was stepping out of the painting and into the real world. He wanted to convey his desire to meet Maria in person, and to show her his true self. The portraits were part of a triptych, with a central devotional image of the Virgin and Child. Tommaso and Maria prayed to the holy figures, and asked for their blessing and protection. They also hoped that they would have a son, who would inherit their name and fortune. The portraits were sent across the sea, and reached their destinations. Maria was charmed by Tommaso's portrait, and felt a spark of affection for him. She admired his handsome and noble features, and his sincere and devout expression. She also noticed the illusionistic frame, and felt a connection with him. They exchanged letters, and learned more about each other. They found out that they had many things in common. They were both pious and charitable, they loved art and music, and they had a keen interest in the world. They also expressed their hopes and fears, their joys and sorrows, and their dreams and aspirations. They grew to love each other, even though they had never met. They felt that God had brought them together, and that they were meant for each other. They finally met in 1470, when Tommaso traveled to Florence to marry Maria. She was 14 years old, and he was 42. But they did not care about the age difference, or the distance that separated them. They only cared about their love, which was stronger than any obstacle. They had a splendid wedding, attended by their families and friends, and by the most prominent figures of Florence. They exchanged vows and rings, and kissed each other tenderly. They felt a surge of happiness and gratitude, and thanked God for their union. They lived happily ever after, in Bruges and in Florence, and had 3 sons and a daughter. They were faithful and devoted to each other, and to their children. They were generous and benevolent to their neighbors, and to the poor. They were respected and admired by everyone, and left a lasting legacy of love and virtue.